In the 2018 NBA Draft, the Phoenix Suns select DeAndre Ayton.
Let's just look at DeAndre Ayton, #1 pick overall.
Suns playing fast. Ayton.
We take a look at some of the notable rookie debuts, including at the forefront DeAndre Ayton against the Mavs and Luka Doncic on ESPN. The outset of the season, you and I got a chance to get our eyes on Ayton,
Yes.
who looked like a man among boys even in his first summer league. 3D.
Yes, in case the reason I'm impressed about Ayton because he's worried about the paint. A lot of these young guys want to shoot the three. Yes, Ayton can shoot the three, but he's not living for the three. So that's why I'm like, yes, big fella, you do have a little throwback in you. Talking about a throwback big guy where you want to catch the ball on the post, you want to pick and roll to the basket, not just settle for three. So Phoenix Sun fans, you should be pretty excited about this young man.
Last year, I think most people would agree the most impressive young kid at Summer League was Donovan Mitchell. That turned into quite a year. Kevin Knox, for you and I and a lot of folks, was that guy this year.
He's special, Casey. And a lot of time when you're in college, you don't get a chance to see a guy's total game. But I think now when Kevin gets to training camp, he gets around Fizdale, he learns the NBA game. The game we saw in Summer League, it was 4 straight possessions of put the ball on the floor, catch and shoot, come off a pin down, and plays like that, finish around the rim. I said, oh, wait a minute, for only 1 year, and he won't be 19 to this August, which is now, this kid's going to be special.
Youngest player in the draft. Let's talk about the player with the most pressure, and to me, it's not Ayton, the #1 overall pick. It's right here in Atlanta with Trae Young because of the very controversial move this organization made to make a decision that a lot of folks who covered college, who covered with the draft that you and I spoke to, would not have made that decision. There's a lot of eyes on Trae Young.
A lot of eyes on Trae Young, and I think he's going to live up to the challenge. Obviously, the Hawks have to put him in good situations so he can be successful. But for a kid who wasn't a McDonald's All-American, wasn't highly coveted coming out of college, coming out of high school, and then 1 year of college, lead the NCAA in scoring and assists, I think he has a good chance once he figures out the NBA game.
Now let's talk about the opening of the season. We all love the great beginnings. Here is the way it looks. If you haven't seen yet, Premiere Week on TNT, presented by Auto Trader. You'll get the Beast of the East out in LeBron. Now what team will represent the top of that conference? Sixers and Celtics. And at the bottom, LeBron, the debut in Portland against Dame and the Trailblazers. We take a closer look at opening week on TNT and across the landscape in the NBA with our own Reggie Miller, kind enough to join us here on this special edition of Game Time. Reg, I got to start with this as we welcome you in before we get to the schedule. It was Pacers Day all day on NBA TV, so I had the pleasure, in quotes, as a Knick guy, of watching your torching the New York Knicks over and over and over again during the course of the day. So it's basically been your channel this afternoon.
Well, look. Those were great rivalry days in the 90s going against Patrick Ewing and Starks and Oak. And, obviously Coach Riley. 2 teams, 2 cities, 2 states that literally hated one another. And I guess you could kind of throw 3D and Orlando in there, too, because we didn't like Orlando either, 3D. We had our problems with you, too, as well. So those 90s... Those days were great.
We got to start with LeBron. How much after all the conversation, and you know there's going to be plenty more of it, Reg, between now and the season, how much are you looking forward to getting your eyes on LeBron as a Laker and getting a chance to call games and seeing how this group starts to mesh together?
Well, I'm going to caution people this. Do not judge the Lakers the first 2.5, 3 months. Very much the same way when LeBron took his talents to South Beach, they struggled early. And even when he came back to Cleveland, they struggled early. It's going to take time to mesh that chemistry. And I know every misstep, every 3, 4, and even possibly 5-game losing streak that the Lakers go through, people are going to think the sky is falling. They're going to try to run Magic Johnson out of town here in L.A., even though he has a statue in front of Staples. I caution patience when watching the Lakers because he's going to be playing with a bunch of young guys that have absolutely zero clue on how to win and how to approach real basketball games. And it's going to take time. So if they continue to have problems after the All-Star break, and 3D, you know this very well, if the chemistry is not there after the All-Star break, then we can start kind of worrying where are the Lakers headed. But we can't judge them early. Even if they get off to a great start, don't jump on the bandwagon. Let's give it some time. Let's see how they kind of mature with one another. And then, but having LeBron James join the Lakers, such an iconic franchise, look, it's a boost to the league. It's a boost, obviously, to the Lakers brand, but it's going to be great to see these games.
And Reggie, speaking of time and patience, now Paul George goes back to OKC with the fresh mind. Melo's gone. How much time does it take that team to figure out now that Russ and PG are running the show from here on out?
I saw the chemistry forming during the middle of last season, and I think it was a smart and great decision by PG to re-sign with the Thunder and with Westbrook because, look, it is going to be a load, especially now you're getting Andre Roberson back as well, a guy that's a great defender. So the chemistry was starting to form. I think they like playing with one another. I've always thought that PG would be a fabulous Robin to someone's Batman, and that Batman being Russell Westbrook. Fantastic signing. And in my opinion, I don't think Houston's going to be as good. I think they lost a lot, especially at the defensive end. Ba Amute leaving, Ariza going to Phoenix. Defensively, they are not going to be that same team that was the number one defensive team. We know that they can score with the best of them, but I think Houston's going to take a step back, and I think this is a chance for OKC and teams like Utah to take a step forward and try to get one of those home court spots, one of those top four spots in the Western Conference.
Reggie, I love that our premiere week is beginning on TNT with the Sixers and the Celtics because with Big Bad LeBron moving to the West, no offense to the Raptors, who should still be there, of course, but a lot of people look at this as maybe the matchup to watch over the next handful of years. How much are you looking forward to seeing who steps into that role, and is it between those two teams, in your opinion?
Well, listening to Jaylen Brown, it's already a done deal. They're going to the NBA Finals. But that's why you play the games. And obviously, you mentioned it, Casey, LeBron taking his talents out west. This is a chance for one of these upstart young teams, Boston, Philly. This has that old school vibe, right? Like that Larry Bird, Dr. J type Philly, Boston. They didn't like one another during the playoffs. A lot of chippiness. You've got a great young player in Joel Embiid, who's a fabulous. He reminds me a lot of a young Shaq. 3D, you know this, very personable, great on social media, but has game to back it up. So what better to open up TNT than to have a potential Eastern Conference playoff preview finals between those two teams?
And sticking in the Eastern Conference, Reg, to Casey's point, what can Toronto do? What can Masai Ujiri do? What can the Raptors do to make sure Kawhi comes into camp with the right mindset so they can really be taken serious?
Well, I hope they're rolling out the red carpet, and this is just not a one-year rental for Kawhi. Look, we've been to Toronto. We know it's a fantastic place to play. Their fans are very rabid. But Kawhi is walking into some big shoes. DeMar DeRozan was the man there, and blindsided in the trade here to get traded to San Antonio when he thought he was going to be a lifer. Those are some tough shoes to come in and fill. Kawhi is a very quiet guy. He lets his game do his talking for him. But this is a lot like what I'm telling people to be, somewhat cautious about the Lakers and LeBron. Chemistry is huge in our game, 3D. You know that. Mm-hmm. And they're going to have to show some patience with Kawhi in this team. If you think he's just going to come in and they're going to win 55-plus games again, it very well could happen. But that chemistry is going to have to develop and form. But I still see them at the end of the day being a top 4 seed. How quickly can they get? Remember, they have a new head coach coming there as well. Casey is gone. He's in Detroit. So it's a new philosophy. Masai Ujiri he's always done a fantastic job of putting pieces in play to be competitive. And I think this will be no different. You are getting a top 5 talent in Kawhi. the question is, how quickly can the chemistry form?
We know this. It'll be very quick between now and the time that we get to opening night, so enjoy the rest of your summer, Reg. Great to have you on the show. Thanks.
3D, Casey, I appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, Reg.
There he is, Reggie Miller, joining us. When we come back, that's right, more LeBron talk.
Who?
3D, you ready?
Who?
That's right. Who's Lonzo Ball? I think he's on that team, too. The last number of days, going to be fun to see what Melo looks like with the Houston Rockets. Now that we know there's been a verbal agreement to sign and join the group in Houston, a group which includes, of course, our next guest, Chris Paul, kind enough to join us for a couple of minutes here in our schedule release special on Game Time on NBA TV. Chris, first of all, thanks for a couple of minutes, and congratulations on the contract this offseason. How good does it feel to now officially know that you'll be with the long term with the Houston Rockets?
It feels great, man. I'm excited, not only for me, but for my family. You know, it's a blessing, especially to know where I'm going to be for the next at least 4 years.
We talk about Melo. Give us a sense of what excites you most about adding him to this mix.
A lot of things. You know, I think Melo, along with a lot of other guys on our team, we always, you know, feel like we play like we have something to prove. And then, you know, obviously the friendship, you know, the brotherhood that, you know, Melo and I share, you know, it's always nice to play with a guy that you're that close with.
And Chris, with that being said, being a close-up with Melo and y'all's relationship, does that put more pressure on you guys now that to say we know each other so well off the court, now on the court we got to make sure we mesh because the Western Conference is so deep?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think, you know, one doesn't really have anything to do with the other. You know, our friendship off the court has nothing to do with basketball, and I think that's the job of our entire team to figure out how we're going to mesh and bring everybody together. But that's what training camp is for. That's what, you know, the season is for, and I'm not worried about that at all.
You know, Chris, a guy who we know meshes perfectly within this team's offense, defense, and makeup is Clint Capella. Maybe it doesn't get talked about enough nationally for some reason. I know how important it is to your group. Give us a sense of the relief once you found out it would be official that he would return and stay with this group.
It was good and well, but, I mean, I guess for the fans in the basketball world, they probably don't understand. We knew he wasn't going anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, if you think about it, he was a restricted free agent, so Clint wasn't going nowhere.
And Chris, knowing the competitor that you are, and you see LeBron going to L.A., you see all the moves with Paul George staying with OKC, do you look at that Western Conference now and scratch your head and say, man, this is going to be tough to get back to like we did last year?
Well, I don't know if you know, but I've been in the Western Conference my whole career.
That's right.
It's never been down since I've been in the league, and I'm going into year 14. So nothing changed for me but the day of the week.
Chris, one thing that's great about you and really a lot of the big names in the NBA is the work you do with the community and off the court. I know right now you're at your camp working with kids. Can you give our viewers a sense of what you've been doing and just what is so important about that to you? I know that's been a big part of your career, is helping out with some of the younger folks.
Yeah, it's always fun to pay it forward, you know, with the basketball camps. And not only that I have, the other guys around our league have. If you see the talent that's coming up now, I mean, you know, I got my Rising Stars camp going on now, which is, you know, 240 of the best rising ninth graders in the country. And the things they do now, we didn't have a clue of doing, you know, when we were that age. And that's because the game continues to grow. We do these camps, and these guys get the value of YouTube, and they just get to see moves over and over and over again until they perfect it.
Chris, appreciate a couple of minutes. Enjoy the rest of the summer. We're looking forward to seeing the rest of the Rockets in your group go after a championship this year. Thanks, and stay healthy, okay?
No problem, fellas. Y'all, thanks for having me.
All right, there's Chris Paul, kind enough to join us. Rockets will be fun to watch again this year. This guy was Jason Tatum. We'll look into the crystal ball with DZ and talk predictions when we come back.